So I think after we send out the next, like, we should do a test
Yeah.
email and then check with everyone.
That's fine.
You all set?
This is,
How was your surgery?
Hi.
You know, I was gonna reply.
Next week,
Oh, it's next week.
yeah, I had to have blood work today and I've been going for testing. But okay,
You ready?
Hold on just one second, just getting all this stuff. We are live on YouTube. And
Yeah, you're on YouTube. There you go.
just in case anyone wants to watch it, so you want to call the meeting to order, right? We can get started with roll call and then hand it over to our consultant.
All right, the meeting of the West Warwick Board of Canvassers for March the 9th, 2022 at 3 p.m. is hereby convened at 3:15 p.m. Members present are Chairperson Ray Lambert, Vice Chairperson Nancy LeBlanc, alternate member Nancy Parenti, and alternate member JP Millette. Regular member Bert Mollahan has resigned. So we have 4 people. We have a quorum, so we can transact our business. Madam Clerk.
So your first order of business is a presentation of alternative plans for the redrawing of ward lines for the town of West Warwick, presented by Prissy Mather, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, from Arkbridge Training and Consulting.
So be it. You're gonna patch her in here.
It should be right there.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Preeti Mathur and I'm with Arkbridge Consulting and Training Incorporated. And I'm here to present to you the wards as well as the 2020 data. So West Warwick has 5 wards and it has 10 precincts. When we looked at the 2020 data to see how well balanced your wards are, this is the total population in each ward. And we also figured that in 2010, the population was 29,191. And now in 2020, the population is 31,012. So there has been a gain of 1,821 people over the decade. So we also looked at the total population in each district that you can see on my screen and what the ideal population should be. So given the total population, we divided by 5 to get the ideal population, which is ideally that each district should have that much population, which is 6,202. In the third column on this table that you're seeing on this report is the deviation. So that deviation is the difference from the ideal population, the optimum, and the number of people in the district. So District 1 has 336 more people, which amounts to 5.42% deviation. Now, District 2 is pretty good. It has only 58 people more, and that looks pretty good. But wards 3 and 4 have short 236, 256 people short, and Ward 5 has 100 people more. So when we look at all these numbers and we compute something called the maximum deviation. The maximum deviation is the difference between the least populated and the most populated district. And when we compute that, we get 9.54%. Now this number, the law requires that this maximum deviation should be under 10%. So technically you have a plan which can work. The only thing is it's sitting very close to 10%. So while we have the opportunity and the data is released, we figured let's look at alternate plans and see what can be done. So with this, I'm just going to talk about where the population is. So on this slide, what you're seeing is total population by census blocks, which means that each block is shaded by the number of people living in it. And when you look at the legend, so the darker the color, the more people in that block. Where you see these darker shaded blocks, that is where you have larger numbers of people living there. The blue line that you see are the new House districts that were just approved, and the green ones are the Senate districts which were approved. So with this, we drew some alternates. And before that, I just wanted to give you an overall racial and ethnic composition of the town. So as you can see, the town, the population of the town is 80.20% non-Hispanic white. You have about 9% Hispanic population, 3% non-Hispanic Black, 3% non-Hispanic Asian, and about 5% people who reported that they were of 2 or more races. So that information is given here for your reference. So now what we did was we called the current plan, the current districts as Plan A, and then we drafted a new plan which we called Plan B. And in this plan, what we did was we tried to balance the districts out more so that, look at the differences, the deviation is very low. And when you look at percent deviation here, it's very, very low. And when we look at the maximum deviation, it's 2.63%. So what we did was we took out this area that you're seeing, these parts from Ward 1, and we moved it to Ward 2. Because wards 3 and 4 were the ones that needed people. So we took this and then we took this area of Ward 2 and we gave it to Ward 3. And then we have identified these changes as change 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 2 is this area that we took from Ward 1 and we moved it to Ward 3. And this area, which we label as change number 3, we moved this little area from Ward 2 to Ward 3 so that it could come up to a par to the ideal population. And then once we got enough population in Ward 3, we moved some to Ward 4 so that Ward 4 would have enough people as well. And when we looked at Ward 5, although Ward 5 is 100 people more, but it seemed like the boundaries that it had, it seemed like a good idea to leave them the way they were. We could have taken could have given up some area, but that could have, did not seem like a good move. So we decided, and plus we were able to get a good 2.63%, which is really good. So with this now, what I do is I compare them side by side, and the West Warwick current wards, we kind of refer to it as Plan A and then Plan B. So you can compare them side by side. And those are the changes that we are proposing in Plan B. And once you choose whichever plan you want to work with, then we would have to go in and look at the precincts. You have 10 precincts, and we have to make sure that those precincts are completely within the state House and the state Senate and the congressional districts. And the way you can see the congressional districts is not important here because you're completely within a congressional district, but we have the House and we have the Senate districts that we will have to take into account when we start drawing the precincts. So with this, I hand it back to you to see if you have any questions and we can talk about them.
There's no numbers. I mean, we see where the changes are, but how does it affect the numbers?
Oh, she's got it on the chart.
Yep, that was,
Which,
If you look at the page before the last page, it'll show you the difference here. You don't have one?
well, that,
That's page 5.
Yes.
all right,
It says Plan B on
okay, well,
top.
I've got it now.
Okay,
I've got it now. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yep, I was
We ask questions.
confused.
Now or?
Well, normally we do it on the public forum. It's up to the board. I mean, obviously, he wants to know if he can ask questions now or wait till the end.
Concerned citizens, I would-
I have no problems,
Well, I'm not.
but
Nancy?
I'm trying to digest it myself.
Yes. Well, that's why I said that today's not the deadline, because I was trying to follow up. I still don't see Plan A in here unless it's the one
it's the
Plan,
current-
plan.
current, but it doesn't say Plan A. Am I
That's what
correct?
assumed, Yeah.
This is
But-
Plan
but-
A, the current one.
Yeah, but it doesn't say, because I'm looking Plan A and I'm saying I don't see no plan. Yes, I know. All right,
first
After
page.
the
This is
board is
Plan A.
done asking questions, you can ask a question. Let's do it in
Oh, okay,
order.
right here, okay,
Yes.
Madam Vice Chairperson,
yes.
we'll start with you. The
Yes.
board will ask questions first. Do you want,
Oh,
is there anything you want explained?
one thing, when they
Excuse me,
took
can
into
you hear
account.
her? No, I know you guys can. What's her name?
Pretty.
Pretty. Can you hear her?
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead, Madam Vice Chair.
When you said the population, which is what you derived the figure for the wards, are you talking about voters, eligible voters in that area? Or
I'm
all
talking,
population?
I'm talking about total population because that is what the Voting Rights Act requires. It requires us to use total population.
Okay, because I always thought they went by eligible voters in the area to determine
The precincts will.
the
The precincts will, that's the next step in it.
Oh, that's the next, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So first we start with the population and then we get more specific.
Right,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's all I have for right now.
Nancy?
No, I don't have anything.
I
JP?
had the same question. I was gonna ask the same thing.
You were gonna ask the same question? Oh, good.
I don't really have any questions now because I got to digest this. There's a lot here to be
Yeah,
digested.
there is.
So we'll entertain questions from the audience, but let it be known that the audience consists of councilmen. So whose wards are affected by this decision?
Jason Lichardi, 26 Carlson Circle, Ward 4 Councilman. Just want to make this clear because I know you guys are going to be voting on this at some point. There's a lot of new development going on in town that has been approved. I know it in Ward 4 at least, there's going to be at least 17 houses being constructed. Probably soon. I don't know if that is a minor part of this or we're talking, I mean, we're talking voters, we're talking, moving the map around are we looking at just what you've done? Or are we looking at the future? Because this is 10 years. So has that been taken into account?
You'd have
Ready?
to ask her.
I am.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. What happens is we have to work with what the census reports. So we cannot take into account what may happen in the future, but we have to work with the data that the Bureau releases, and that is what the law requires us to use.
Okay. A couple other questions, just to clarify. So looking at the map, the map,
There's a lot of maps here,
the side by side.
Okay,
So this is current, correct? The one on the left,
yes,
and the one Plan B is what the plan is.
future, maybe.
Okay, so I'm in Ward 4, so I know, again, I just want to clarify this. I'm getting nothing from Ward 5, because I bought Ward 3 and 5. So Ward 5 is not, I'm not claiming anything and nothing's being taken away in that area. Okay, so on the other end of Ward 3, when you look at this, I'm getting more streets, basically. So that's
And Jason's getting more.
on the other end.
Yes.
Okay, so do you know, according to this, what streets, I mean, all I see is a block. So I'm more concerned of what way I'm going versus,
In other words, if I may interrupt, in other words, you want the streets delineated as to
Yeah.
what streets are going to be moved?
Yes.
Judy, do you have that answer?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this. I'm going to just zoom into this area.
Okay.
And
so it's the
So-
black line I'm looking at, correct?
the black line is the current boundary.
Okay,
And the color is what we are proposing. So we are proposing this area and really looking at this. So this is what you are going to be adding in Ward 4.
right, so
Do you know, Pretty, what he wants to know is, do you know basically some of the streets that are being moved?
Yeah,
I just can't see it.
okay, I'll just zoom in here. And we are talking about Duke Street, Bridal Avenue, and then we are talking about Seth Drive, Shane Drive. And we are talking about Bridal Avenue, so moving the border along with Bridal Avenue. St. George Street, and then coming along the waterway. And you have Duke Street, you have, 1 second, let me turn off a few layers here. Along this Legris Avenue, Main Street, so Manchester Street, Hebboro Street, Brown Street, Ferrera Court. So this is the area.
those are
that-
mine already. Those are mine already.
Yeah,
Those are
I
in
was
Ward
wondering
4.
if Manchester Street.
I go, if you.
Okay, hang on
can
for
you-
a minute. Let me turn on. Yeah, you're right. These are yours already. It's this area between the black line and the red line that you are getting.
So, all right. In my, I know you guys are more familiar with this than Pretty, because we live it.
Yeah.
So typically in Ward 4, I have from Senator Legris Avenue to Bald Hill, down Coesit, down to Main Street, and the area and back up to Legris Avenue. So it's like a big rectangle. And then it branches out to Church Street down near Walgreens, which I don't have Walgreens. I have the opposite side, and it goes around to New London Square. And it goes from New London Square up to the Coventry line on Tyoke Avenue. And then it goes onto the Turnpike, which is very strange. I have the entire right side of the Turnpike where Flat Top is. And then I have, this is where it's weird. I have the left side where Bigas used to be. And then it stops. And then that's Ward 5. And then I go, that's the map I've always campaigned with. Then it goes up to, on the left of New London, it goes by Campbell, which is 5, Claire, which is 5. I have 3 houses on Turner Drive heading west, heading north, south.
This is what
Hang
you
on.
have now, right?
That's what I have now. So on 3 houses on Turner Drive, and then I go all the way up to Greenbush Road. And then Ward 5 kind of has that push. It's strange. So then I have, if you cross Main Street, I have Pulaski Street all the way up on the left, up to the Coventry line. And then everything on the left, like Harley Street and Barnold and Sydney, I have that whole back area. And then on Pulaski, abutting Ward 3 would be, I have up to the bridge. And then you have Robinson Way, Colonial is Robinson Way, Colonial is Ward 3 heading that way. So
So what are
What-
you basically, are you complaining about the? what
I'm
you
just,
did?
I'm just curious as how this was, because now I'm crossing, I have Rocks Market. And I'm actually heading towards Arctic with some of this.
Okay,
So I'm just curious as to how this was devised, because to me, it doesn't make sense.
okay. Pretty.
I'm not complaining, I'm just asking, because I would think I would go the opposite way of what I already had, like to finish the Pulaski Street area versus, because right now I have the block like this. And now I'm going this way and that way in strips. And now you're adding another strip. Crossing West Warwick Avenue and,
West Warwick Avenue.
right? I mean, I don't know. I'm just,
Oh, wow.
I'm not familiar with, no, I'm not crossing. I'm sorry. I'm crossing. This is where where Christ the King is, correct?
West Warwick Avenue. I was under
Right.
the impression that both sides were Ward 3.
So I'm actually crossing Christ the King,
Okay.
right? I don't know. I'm asking.
Chris.
All right. So I'm crossing Legris, going into the Mills where Bridal, is that
That's Bridal Avenue.
okay?
Yeah.
It's just like it just seems,
It used to be 3, right?
it is 3 now.
It's,
So that's where there's
It's
a
still
voting
3?
area 3, yeah.
Okay.
So you're actually taking, if I'm at Bridal is in back of Christ the King, right?
yes, it is.
So Christ the King would be mine. Okay, so with that, I'm not trying to be difficult. It doesn't really matter, I guess, but now what you're doing, just so you know, is Christ the King is a voting place for Ward 3.
Yeah, right. It looks like
So
only-
there's already 2 voting places in Ward 4. One is Maisie Quinn and one is St. Mary's. So you're taking just so you know, you're taking a voting place out of 3.
And by the way,
Can
Christ the
you-
King is one of our better
Polling place.
polling
No, I know.
places. You would not want to lose that. Am I correct?
Pretty, can you show us where the polling locations are?
Let's see, I don't have the polling places. I guess if you can send that to me the next time when we meet, or I could put it on the map, but I don't have the polling places.
In Ward 3, it's the Manor
We will do. Ward 3 is the Manor
and
and
Christ the King.
Christ King.
So where would my
Because that's where I vote, Christ.
So where would my voting places be now? It would be Quinn and,
Sounds like-
Yours, right now, you have
When it's
Quinn
Mary's?
and
St. Mary's.
Yeah.
which is very convenient for Ward 4, because if you're adding just that strip, and now you're gonna add another voting place. Yeah, I'm concerned with me. I don't have an election until 2024, but
But we're
You
not
don't-
gonna add it in that. I don't believe we're
Can't
adding
add-
polling places. We
No, if
will-
anything, we want to move in the opposite direction.
Yes. So I would think that that's a good point. In other words, if Christ the King is now. Pretty, where is Legris Avenue now?
Okay, let me
On your
find
plan
out.
B, where would Legris Avenue be?
It's Lagrange Avenue. I thought I just saw it, but
Right, yeah, right there.
It's gonna go off.
it's
Right
the
on the blue
line,
line.
blue and black
See where
line.
Emery caught it?
It's on the blue and black line, Purdy.
Right below Emery Court. There you go. That's it.
All right. Put that back up. So that means, and you're going beyond that black line, upwards on this
Yeah.
map. So therefore,
on
yes,
this
Christ the
plan.
King would be
Yeah,
out
we're
of
gonna
Ward
lose,
3.
yeah.
Yeah,
That would be a problem.
that's what I was,
That's a problem.
that's.
Because
I
I'm
thank you
very-
for Bringing that
I'm
up.
very happy with the 2 polling places. It's convenient
That
for
doesn't
the
make any
constituents.
We're not here to make you happy, but.
Thank you.
What I'm saying is,
Wait.
moving Christ the King into your ward, doesn't matter.
Yep.
You'd like Christ the King as a plus, one of our best polling places.
I'm happy with just where I am.
And so-
Which either way is fine.
But, and I know you are.
My
But what I'm
constituents are happy
saying
there
is
too, so.
We'd have to find one in Ward 3 and we would lose Christ the King.
Right.
Unless we made Christ the King St. Mary's. That's one of your.
Would I have a say in that or no?
Huh?
Would I have a say in
Yeah,
that?
yeah, when we do the voting districts,
Okay,
or what's it called, Sarah, the,
The precinct?
Precincts.
Precincts.
when we do the
precincts.
precincts, you'll have something to say
okay.
about moving polling places and that. But it is obvious from this map that Christ the King will now, if we adopted this proposal right now, Christ the King would be in your ward.
Yeah.
And you'd have 3 of our 10 polling places in your ward.
Okay,
Not that we would open up 3 in your ward.
please
but
don't. No.
Something would have to be done and you'd have to find one in Messier's ward.
We don't have a lot of options. in
I know.
three.
So
And-
my final question is, I wrote down the streets that I would gain.
Yeah.
Pretty, could you tell me how many actual houses those are? Or how many voters
Okay,
on the additional voters I'm going to have?
so
Is
the
it- is it on
additional
here?
voters, yeah. See
Must be on
here,
that
we
plan
have
here.
the voters. The voters are these dots that you would have, but I'm just looking at this area. These are about 2 blocks and they have 163 people, 129 voting age population. And when we talk about the voters, it's going to be a little bit less than this number. So would you rather have this area remain in Ward 3 and look somewhere else to gain about 163 people in for Ward 4?
Are you asking me or asking? the board?
I would I would certainly like to have Christ the King back in Ward 3 if you could do it.
Okay, so what we are going to do is we are just going to do some what if, because keep in mind that my goal is to get the numbers and to find, some natural barriers. So I found this waterway. But if it doesn't work, we can try to put this and find 163 people to put back in Ward 4, then that would work. So right now I'm just doing a what if modeling situation where I said, okay, this goes back to Ward 3. So can we find some, maybe over here that we could put in Ward 4?
Okay.
But
And
I
you're
only need 163
And you're
people.
gonna try to do that, right? You're gonna
Yeah,
try.
and I'm kind of doing it with you right now because see, this gives me 45 people and gives me 106, gives me this, and this could be a good one, but then would I be splitting neighborhoods? That's my question for you.
You be splitting what? I didn't understand.
Neighborhoods.
Neighborhoods.
I just want to remind you guys too, that the way we have it currently is within the limitation. We
I
could just
understand.
leave it alone.
You understand that? In other words,
understand
we
that.
are, what did she call it? She called it the
The
margin, the deviation. And
Maximum
we're in it now.
deviation.
We could just say, see ya, it stays the same. We can't. The board could vote that way.
Right,
But as Sarah explained to me before this meeting, eventually something like you said, the increase in houses and stuff, and we wouldn't touch it for 10 years. So if you want to get the deviation rate down a little bit more, it helps us for, you
right.
know what I'm saying?
Well, there's just so many things that are being proposed, there's a
Yes.
lot of condo developments going up, which if this happened like every couple of years, I don't think it'd be a big issue, but
Yeah.
you're looking at, 10 years
10
down the
years.
road. I won't be here on the council 10 years from now. So, I'm not, no, but I can tell you that, for thinking about the future, I think this would be the way to go, but again, that's up to you guys. Either way,
No
You know,
problem. We'll take
so-
that under advisement because Christ the King is very important place. Are you done?
I'm done.
Councilman?
Thank you very much.
Councilman Bourget, you stood up. I was.
No, I was gonna try and point something else out, but I would have been wrong, so I sat myself.
Oh. How do you know you would have been wrong?
Well, because I looked at the map again, educated myself.
All right, now wait a minute, hang on. Everybody done with their questions?
Yeah.
From the board? Jay, are you done?
Thank you.
Mark, you got any questions?
I'm all set, thank you.
Ward 5 wasn't touched. And even if we go back and redo Ward 4 and 3, and that, it still won't affect you, I don't believe.
Correct. Well,
I know, just touch it.
it could affect me, because if she looks for the other 163, she might find something in Ward 5 that cuts in to give him
But
the,
then we got to approve that, so we'd have another meeting.
right, but I'm 100 over anyway, so
So if you lose 100,
so if I lose 100, I lose 100. I don't want to lose 100. but-
right. All right, Pretty, did you understand that? You might be able to
Yeah.
grab 100 votes out of Ward 5, maybe.
Yeah. And that is fine, we can do that. But this is where actually I am looking for feedback from you all to see what would work for you.
I understand.
Because while we can reduce the maximum deviation, but we want to make sure that we pick up areas which would work for you.
Perfect. Paul, we have one of our top moderators here today. Paul, do you have any questions?
No, I think. There we go.
Yes, please. Identify yourself and
Paul Richards, 39 Gardner Avenue.
one
Yeah.
of our top moderators, by the way. I'll add that. Go ahead.
Thank you. The only thing I was going to say is, I mean, I know there's some other areas that might be grabbing, residents from and stuff like that. And I think she mentioned about getting all the polling places to her so she can identify them, just to make sure we're not moving any others around and things along that line. So I think that'd be a good idea because, like you mentioned, Christ the King. And I know we were in all the other wards, the same thing. You're kind of limited on
Right.
what you have available. So we got to make sure we don't move any of those things around just from experience.
Perfect. And you reminded me of something. Madam Clerk, CMC, would you kindly check if Holy Ghost, not Holy Ghost, if Clyde Towers, we have a problem with Clyde Towers. Now, that is a present voting precinct, but we have a problem with, what's his name?
Oh.
He said that they didn't want it used anymore. JP, you're good at that. Who is that?
Whoever's in charge. of it.
Whoever the director was.
Yes,
Whoever the director was.
The manor and
Director.
the Clyde are the same. You know.
Clyde Towers, my
Well,
understanding.
it's all in the same jurisdiction, isn't it? Clyde and the manor are both the
Yes.
same.
Yes, they are. They're
The
run by
same-
the same
Same
person.
person. I mean,
Yeah.
are both in trouble or just one?
No, my understanding with our previous clerk, when she was dissertating with him, she said that West Warwick Manor didn't bother them, but it bothered Clyde Towers.
Because
You can check, but that's what.
it's got to do with parking.
Yeah.
I really do think it's got
Yeah,
to
it's-
do
it's
with
no
parking.
It's also that they,
no parking.
yeah, but
Parking is
they,
very tough at
There's no parking.
Clyde Towers, very tough.
yeah, but
Although
it's
I
not only the parking. Remember, they have things the night before and they refuse
Yeah,
to take it
They
down.
usually have bingo the night
They
before.
refuse to take it
Yeah.
down and
And-
stay out of their kitchen and do
Right.
this. We have a problem with Clyde Towers.
Yeah.
And that is one of those ones difficult to move because it's a senior housing situation.
I'm sure they're residents.
So we ought to take that into consideration because Clyde Towers may not be in Ward. That's Ward 2, because it may be gone. We got to find something else.
Right.
Like we found Sacred Heart as opposed to the
manor.
It's not the
Manor,
manor,
yeah.
Monsignor D'Angelo's.
Monsignor D'Angelo.
So that's got to be looked at too. But I appreciate that. That's a good point.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's easier to go to Sacred Heart.
Yes, I'm not saying to leave Sacred Heart. I'm just saying, we don't know what those polling places are.
Can I add one more thing?
Certainly,
I know you're gonna be in deliberation, but another thing just about Christ the King,
introduce yourself.
Jason Licciardi, 26 Castle Circle. With Maisie Quinn for Ward 4, just in case this comes in the discussion, in Ward 4, Maisie Quinn is the main polling place there, and St. Mary's is the secondary.
Right.
If I were to gain Christ the King, I'm sure you'd want to have Christ the King as a polling place as well, which may eliminate St. Mary's. That gives two main polling places.
Believe me, if we ended up with Christ the King and St. Mary's in the same ward like yours, my vote would be for Christ the King over St. Mary's because
But-
it's definitely.
And that gives two main polling places, though.
That doesn't
which-
matter.
Okay,
Doesn't matter.
all right.
I don't care if only 100 people go there to vote. It's a better situation and say, the same areas
Yeah,
is good.
because,
Yeah.
we switched those precincts, as I recall.
Yes, it used to be,
it used-
Villa, the Villa de Giorgio.
Right.
And they closed and everything else, and they wouldn't let us use it, so we went to St. Mary's.
Yeah.
Okay,
Another possibility there was the fire station on Cohasset Avenue. We've had polling places there too.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, hearing no further questions on this topic, I assume that we are going to let Miss Pretty do her due diligence with what has been said today. And so, without any further discussion from the board, I'll entertain a motion that this matter be continued to our next meeting. Further,
When's the next meeting?
we'll pick that, just
I'll-
make a motion.
Also, I'll make the motion that we continue this at our next meeting.
To our next meeting.
Do some research.
All those in favor? Opposed, so voted. I don't know if I said it at the beginning, but please let it be known that Nancy Parenti, the alternate, is a voting member today. She's sitting in Bert Mollahan's chair. As you know, he resigned. I know I said that. All right, the next order of business would be consideration of redrawing of the town's ward and precinct lines in accordance with RIGL 17-11-1, divisions of towns and representative district into voting districts pursuant to the 2020 census data and recommendation to the West Warwick Town Council. I presume we don't.
We've kind of already done this. so
Yeah.
we've
Oh, well, I'm just
talked
saying, it's
about
on the
it.
agenda. We'll,
Yeah.
and there is no, a new development would be, they don't vote. The West Warwick Town Council will not vote.
No,
It's our
according to your
baby.
charter, it's you guys that. do it.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion that number 4 on the meeting agenda that I just read also be tabled and continued until our next regular meeting.
I will make that motion that we postpone this to the next meeting, table it. I go along with that.
You second it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. The next item on the agenda is public forum. I let the councilman talk during the presentation because we had Ms. Pretty on. Is there anybody else got anything that they want to add under public forum?
I don't.
No? In the council, any final comments?
Just one comment. If we can't use Clyde, that's not gonna affect anything, is it? If say, I mean, she's gonna use the polling places now,
Yep,
and we can't use Clyde, and she's gonna use Clyde, and something happens.
that's why I'm asking. I'm politely asking our town clerk to check now.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that, but I mean,
Clyde
is the Elks ever gonna be in consideration?
That's what I'm saying. I would vote to not use Clyde Towers right now and find something. Huh?
So we would have to have a new
The guy come
polling.
down, yeah, but he has to come down and,
We have to have the Board of Elections come down and
Yes.
approve that.
That's right, yeah,
They have
Steve.
to approve that.
I'm just saying that he said, what about Clyde Towers? And even though they say, hey, we would like it and stuff, we have problems with Clyde Towers, parking and.
So the
and-
Elks do fall within that ward,
well,
Yes,
but you have to make sure they fall in the ward and also.
in the,
So it's.
in the
it's a
congressional
two-vote.
That's what I mean,
districts too,
without the-
but unless they change the congressional districts a whole lot, I don't believe that the Elks.
I would have
There's
to-
also down there, let's see, besides the Elks.
Yeah,
Why would
The
they
Elks
use
is
the
in two.
Elks? Do you remember why?
Yes,
They didn't like
the
they
parking
came
lot.
down and said something about the parking lot.
That was 10 years ago.
well, I
No,
guess
they
we
haven't done
could
much.
kind of
Yeah, I've been
make
by
a
it every
list
day.
of 2 or 3 places when the state comes down to look and then let them tell us which one they think is the best one.
Right.
So anyway, Clyde Towers is going to be a problem. We had a lot of problems last time with them. So with that said, do you have anything to add?
No, I do not.
No.
JP? All right, with that said, and hearing no other people wishing to speak, I'll entertain a motion. We adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the
I'll
meeting.
second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted unanimously. The meeting stands adjourned at 3:54 PM.
Pretty, thank you very much. and
Yes,
I'll be in
thank
touch
you.
with
Thank you, Pretty. We appreciate
you.
it. I'm sure you'll come back with another good demonstration of whatever.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you take any of those COVID tests